Oh my God, this is horrible. I can't do this.
Oh
The
no.
face, the Facebook group, uh, it keeps refreshing. I hate Facebook now.
I do too. Have you if you're in any pages, I always check my notification. It throws me in the page. I hate the page. I don't want the page. I hate the page.
Yes,
That's what it
and
is.
it keeps refreshing. And okay, you two talk.
Okay, hey. So yeah,
Halfway
Continue
through
to
the
do
week.
I-9s. I don't know if I'm ever gonna be able to do payroll again. You're getting all that fixed for me, so I have faith in you. It's all good.
All right, I got them. I got them shared in the appropriate group. So, yeah, for some reason, when you go live in Facebook and then you go to that Facebook page to share it, because
Of the
Facebook
new
groups
setting.
are private, it changes it to your profile, which doesn't have access to the Facebook groups that you have for your personal. Okay, enough ran over.
Oh my, it's always something with the old Facebook.
Welcome to another Workshop Wednesday,
Brought
where
to
we
you
should be
by School of
school of
Bookkeeping.
schoolofbookkeeping.com, where you should be able to see us on the Workshop Wednesday page without having to go to any Facebook or YouTube or anything. You should be able to see it streamed live there and participate in the chat. So if you can see it, tell us where you're
Tell
watching
us.
it from.
Tell us
Because
where
if you're
you
not
are.
watching on Facebook, I don't think I want to go to Facebook.
Oh,
Right.
You're
We'll
able to
have to
just
come up with a new strategy because this is
yeah,
dumb. Yeah.
yeah.
So
But we
tell us that
are
you're here.
yeah.
So we're not
Um,
just having this party once a week by ourselves.
party of three.
Party of 3. I mean, we do enjoy hanging out, but we're trying to educate you and get educated at the same time
mhm.
because
All right.
Facebook keeps changing.
So we
Yes.
are continuing our saga of payroll fundamentals, and we're
Like
in
there's a
QuickBooks workflow.
connection.
Hey, how did that come?
You see
What
that?
happened? Oh, what do I see? Okay,
It
there
flashed
was a
up that there was a connection problem.
oh nope, didn't see that. That's
Mm-mm.
just for you.
Oh, it might be me. Fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, so we're continuing our saga with payroll fundamentals and QuickBooks workflows. And we have our friends at ADP joining us because we can talk about just payroll stuff in general.
Mhm.
Yes.
And today's topic is all about setting up your EIN and accounts with with the man with
Oh,
with the
man.
government tax agencies. Um, so
It's not
we're
fun, but you have to do it.
yeah,
But once you
and
get to the number, you're good.
this leads kind of down the path of some specific topics that certain companies might come across, and certain companies may have specific needs when it comes to um, being in multiple states at the same time. So let's first talk about what do you need when you are setting up payroll. And I'm going to toss this one over to Kate at
Oh,
ADP just to
good.
kind of talk just to kind of talk in general, right?
Yeah.
Um,
So in general, every single person needs an EIN number.
Yeah.
That's like you can't get around that. And then as far as states go, there are some states that can be an apply for status. So whether it's state income tax or state unemployment tax, some states don't have, some states do, but some states do the you have to do it up front. Some states can be when it's applied for, but as far as ADP goes, you're going to want those numbers by the end of the quarter so you don't get a $25 fine. So just depends on the state and depends on if that state actually requires it, because it does vary. Some states are lucky and they don't have to pay income tax and they get extra money in their personal accounts rather than it going to Uncle Sam's account.
And
That's always
who's responsible for that? Like who sets that up? Is that primarily rests on the shoulders of the business owner, or is that because I've seen some payroll services they'll do that for you,
Hmm.
because again, as someone that's new to payroll, like if they didn't even know they need an EIN,
Yeah.
you're in big trouble.
they've got bigger problems with what they should have known already, right? If they're a
Yep.
legitimate
Yeah.
business, because they'll have to formulate formation for
Form
what
their
what would be
corporation
the right
or policy.
it's not formulate, because now that sounds like an Excel thing, but
Create.
when you're in your
That help?
formation, of your company, and we had a topic about that where we talked about, whether you're a partnership, a sole proprietor, those types of things. You should have figured that out already by this point when you're talking about, before you're even adding your first employee, with regards to the federal EIN number. But then, of course, then we go into those various states. Which would you have already set that up at this point? Like, let's say you're a business, operating single operator, type of thing. That now you're adding on your employees. You're now busy enough to add employees. What would you have already crossed over in that formulation process? What would you have already?
What
What
if you were
steps may you have already taken? Right? Like,
was it
or
you if you're a
go
sole
ahead.
proprietor and you may not even have an employee, you just are using your social security number, you might not have
Mhm.
gotten a federal ID. So you have to start with the federal ID before you can even tap into applying for those state numbers. So
And then as far as setting that up, Kate, is that something that I know QuickBooks doesn't handle that sort of stuff, as far as
I
payroll. Is that something that ADP offers as a service, like
So
to
we're gonna
assist
go with
people?
the legal answer. No, AD, for liability reasons, ADP can't set it up. We do have the instructions as far as handling it. However, if you're stuck, you can give me a call. I have a document that shows every single state, every single link that needs to go to.
Mhm.
So I don't let my clients just here. This is what you need. Good luck trying to find it.
Yeah.
It's just there's the clients are supposed to be the ones logging into the state website, answering the questions, getting the number. I see a lot of times the CPAs on the accounts or the bookkeepers, they just do it just to kind of just get it over with. So they're not waiting on the client to get it done. So I see
Mhm.
the mixture of those two things. Technically, whatever payroll company you go with technically shouldn't be doing it. But if you're stuck along the way, I'm thinking everyone's gonna help you out. You're not gonna be left to guess.
Left high
yeah,
and dry when
she
it comes
she
to that.
helped me. So
Yeah.
we added someone
Mhm.
in a new state, and so
Yep.
suddenly, thanks to Dan, we have a new state we had to jump into, and I said, "Kate, help," and she sent me the link, and I took it from there, and then, have to
Yeah.
upload the
Most
info.
and thinking of in the putting on my QuickBooks hat, and the prior experience I've had. Yes, there was like a payroll tax compliance website that people could go to, and it would provide them with who they need to contact, whether it's over the phone or online, to get the ball rolling there. But um, legally, to Kate's point, it is a responsibility and the burden of the business owner to
Mhm.
handle that. However, you may have help along the way. I know there are some services that
Mhm.
you can work with that will do that for you. But ultimately, you're still needing to provide the information to someone.
Yeah.
And if you go right to the source, then you can do that. But every state is going to be a little bit different. As Carrie and I just realized when setting up sales tax in multiple multiple different states, it's going to be the same type of situation. One person's Florida is another person's South Carolina, and they may or may not be consistent in the way that they handle those types of things. So
Very
now you've
tricky.
set up, yeah. And, again, that burden so as far as like the payroll processor, Kate, you're going to be able to kind of give them a checklist of, okay, we need this number, we need this number, we need this information because of where you're paying your employees or where they're working. But as far as getting that is
when we
responsibility, air quotes there.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll give a checklist of what it is. We can tell you if, like, for South Carolina, for example, you can do applied for sit and SUI. So as long as and then you sign off that you've applied for it. So we're good. We can get the account up and running. All we need is the EIN number. And then by the end of that quarter, we just have to add those number in. Whereas like New York State, you have to have those numbers in to even proceed to get the document signed. So it varies between the states. One thing to do, always do the electronic applications. Paper is an option, but especially post-COVID, even pre-COVID, it takes forever. Now it takes even longer. So I would just, to avoid any fines, where did this end up in the mail, just do it online. It's a lot easier. You can print everything out. You can still have a paper trail, but it just makes the business owner's life a lot easier.
Because every state has various creative ways to call whatever it is. California, the State Board of Equalization, workforce training tax.
It's like a franchise word on it too, and you're going, what?
Yeah. Like I'm a sole proprietor. I'm not a franchise. So like what they call it versus what that actually means could certainly be. But as a payroll provider, ADP, based off of the state worked or state employed, they're going to give here's what we need fulfilled by you. Please provide that, and we can get the ball rolling there.
Yeah, exactly.
Because some states are going to be like Pennsylvania and Ohio. They add another layer of complexity of a local tax. So it's not just federal and state. It's now municipality, or New York has Yonkers.
Being from New York, all my friends, I still help them out with payroll, and even the CBG partners. When we get to like New York states, I'm just like, you just even when you look at the pay stubs, it's like 84 different local taxes, like your neighbor's tax. Like there is so many taxes that get broken down, and so every state varies. And that's what's great for your CBG partners, is that you don't have to keep track of every single state. Because I feel like a lot of the bookkeepers are virtual. So one less thing you guys have to worry about. Shoot me over an email. Shoot me over a text. Hey, I might have a client in this state. What could they need? I could pull it. The document sits on my home screen. I easily open it up, copy and paste it, and then send it over. It's an easy question if you guys ever need that.
And so this raises it's not really a fundamental payroll, but because it gets tricky, right? Like you're in New York, for example, and you're a construction company, and you have guys going to New Jersey, potentially Connecticut, all within a stone's throw of where you're physically located. So you're in New York, New Jersey, potentially Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Rhode Island. All states are in the the Mid-Atlantic region, right? You could be physically working in locations, and then that adds a separate layer of complexity. That would be, I now need to withhold for that state. So this is a concept of QuickBooks calls it work locations. What is the ADP terminology of that, where you have your business is physically located in one place, but you have workers who are doing work in various other locations?
I think we keep it simple and just call it jurisdictions.
Jurisdiction. Okay.
I don't think we have any like special name for it, but you'll see, like when you go into the profile and you go under like the settings, it breaks down if you have multiple states. Like I was in Carrie's account the other day, and her and I were looking at it, and she has all the different states where everyone's located, so you can go in and see those profiles. But I'm like, just it gets so nitty gritty as far as seeing where everyone is located. Where
Bob's calling it Nexus. He's on
I think
our
it is.
Facebook.
Well, kind of a nexus, but yeah. So yeah. So it depends again. Somebody was explaining to me that some states are weird about that. Like if you have a remote employee in another state, then that's the state that they're going to need their withholding. That's where they're working from their home. So there are some people that try to work around that and just have it be the corporate sales tax. I mean, not sales tax, but state withholding. And that doesn't feel real fair. I mean, because you live.
Not according to this, not from the state's perspective, so, hey, they're working there, it should be subject to those taxes. And, I have a unique situation. I'm physically located in Maine, right? But I'm doing work, but on paper, I live in Florida, right? So, that's the caveat there. So that kind of puts, to Bob's point, on our Facebook page, a nexus, right, for the business. But as far as where I'm physically doing my work, I'm in another part of the country, but I'm not necessarily doing work I just have to be here, right? Like, so that's certainly a gray area for that sort of thing. But with getting back to the idea of service-based industries where they have job sites and customers in different specific locations where they're actually doing physical work, that is a separate layer of complexity of where I'm actually doing work. And then content. I'm sorry, there's a mosquito flying around here. So if you see me doing that, I'm gonna smack my face or something throughout the workshop. So if there is a different work location, that has always been a limitation of QuickBooks. I wanted to understand if ADP falls under the same thing. If you have an employee in the same pay period working in 2 different states, can you do that on one paycheck?
Yeah, you do. There's like 3 little dots, and you can drop down. And you do
Carrie's like, what?
I have to, just being transparent with you guys, as you know, I always am. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but it is doable. It's just a few steps you have to go through. You can't loop it into one check. You have to do like a separate add additional check, and then you have to go through.
Okay, yeah,
it is not
similar to QuickBooks, where you have to actually create 2 separate paychecks, one in each state. But you couldn't have one paycheck where it lists both states. In that case, so it's very similar, because that is a convoluted way to handle that when you're now putting those things trying to put them all into one paycheck, because that's from the employee's perspective, I just worked 2 weeks and I should just get one check. But from an employer's perspective, in the state jurisdiction's perspective, they want to see things separated out. And then somebody's W-2. You can have multiple? I think 2.
It's awful.
Yeah, how does that work when it comes to the end of the year thing?
I can answer that. It's awful. So in order to do that in QuickBooks, I had a customer that needed it. They were weekly payroll. We realized that for every single thing they were doing, it was easier if we picked a state. And I would say, listen, if they spent 80% of their time in South Carolina, we're using South Carolina this week. The next week it'll balance. It all balances out in the wash. And then if they're more time in North Carolina, we would do North Carolina. But they would get different W-2s. It was awful. And the reason we had to do that was because which was, it was just terrible. So they had to, and it was because the SUTA, and they had to hit the maximum for each SUTA thing. So the SUTA was running around. They were making out great.
And for those of you who don't know, the acronym state unemployment is what you but the TA is a taxing authority, right?
Right. So it's the
state
unemployment.
is what we're talking about.
So it was ugly, and so a lot of people would say, does QuickBooks do multi-state payroll? And the answer was kind of, and you couldn't do it in assisted, and you really had to, it was some major workarounds to go through those steps to just make sure that the unemployment people were getting their money. I mean, they all made out fine. And then the employee wouldn't, yeah, so that it got real weird about where they worked and lived and da 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 da. It was, I only did this one project. It about hurt my brain. So I know that those payroll companies are like, ew, but it sounds like you can do it, because I have used the ADP run and I've seen those dots. So there's probably ways to do it, but how?
I've seen them. Must exist.
It's not fun. It's not fun. So there we go.
Yeah, and as we had talked in a prior workshop about, wage bases, and that's where the state unemployment is going to come into play, because if you worked in two different states, and you're in one state versus another, especially if you're in the same paycheck, the state wants to reach its cap for state unemployment. Federal unemployment is regardless, because never mind that. But the various state unemployments are going to have a threshold to stop, calculating state unemployment percentages for the company. So we did kind of creep into a more advanced topic.
As you can see, you don't go down that path alone.
Yeah, and definitely work with someone that, if you're in that kind of type of industry where you're in multiple different work locations, don't tackle that on your own. Don't sign up for a do-it-yourself payroll service that would just kind of leave you out to dry, because in those cases, you're going to probably get a tax notice from one of those states that either has a state withholding but no state unemployment, or vice versa, because you're all putting it under one state. And then, Bob raises up another point. It's if you only had nexus, if you had customers in the state your employee lives, right? Like what that brings up another caveat of that, right? Like if they live in New York and they're working in Connecticut, does that qualify to do that? So definitely, you want to make sure you're working with a payroll professional who has an answer to that.
And understands multi-state. It's not fun. You do not want to. Yeah, there you go. Get help.
Yeah. All right, and so wanted to shift gears here, so we'll put a button or a bow on on setting up yourself with the various tax agencies and some of those topics. So we'll move on to our QuickBooks workflows section of the workshop today. But before we do, I wanted to talk about the Firm of the Future, which is a blog that Intuit creates. And let me share my screen here real quickly. I'm in the wrong one, and there we go. Ta-da. Look who's on the Firm of the Future. Featured read today. It looks like it takes 9 minutes to read, so a lot. 9 minutes of your time.
Give us 9 minutes. We know we normally just give you 3 for our little videos, but
but the folks over at Firm of the Future, interviewed Carrie, and it's just a nice little write up about the School of Bookkeeping, and it's a featured article this week until I think what he said 3rd. So it'll still be there, right? So you can, but just going to firmofthefuture.com
Boom.
You'll be presented with a banner about us. So take a look there if you want. So what we wanted to talk about, and we're adding to our QuickBooks Online courses, right? So as a subscribing member of School of Bookkeeping, you have access to the courses that we make available as we add updates, because QuickBooks Online updates pretty regularly. As we add updates to those courses, you're automatically updated with those courses, and you have access to that. So it's kind of like if you're watching Ozark and the new season comes out, it just shows up in as it's available to watch, right? So we wanted to talk a little bit about managing your subscription in QuickBooks Online, because sometimes that causes some confusion. So we're just going to talk about upgrading and downgrading today. But when you go into the account and settings, this settings comes up, and you're going to see this billing and subscription here on the left side. Now, if you don't see anything here, that means that your billing is being managed by somebody else. But if you're direct billing or direct paying into it, you're going to see all of these options. I should have hidden the QuickBooks Online Payroll for Kate, right? But of course, QuickBooks wants you to attach to their own services, so you're going to see those things here in the billing and subscription area. But your QuickBooks Online subscription will be, anything that you have activated will show up in green. Anything that you could sign up for or learn more about is going to be have this black bar across the top, especially if it's a subscription based thing here. But here under the QuickBooks Online Plus, it will tell you, I just set up this trial today, and it gives me an idea of when that trial is going to end, and then what I should, if I wanted to subscribe and put in my billing information, I can do that there. But we want to talk about upgrading or downgrading, right? So right now I'm using Plus, which gives me room to grow to go up to QuickBooks Online Advanced. Or if I'm not using the features of Plus, I could downgrade to Essentials or Simple Start, right? So you can do that by just clicking these links here. So upgrading your plan will give you this option to go up to Advanced. If I chose to do that, it'll give me a little bit of an idea of why I might want to do that, what features are in Advanced in order to do that. Maybe I want to take advantage of the backing up of the data. Okay, yes, I would definitely want to do that. And then you would just choose the plan, and then it would allow you to upgrade. I'm not going to do that because I want to show you the downgrade, because you can only change your plan once a day. Right. So once you've made that change, the dust has to settle on changing your plan, and then the following day you can make a change. Mm-hmm. But if you wanted to downgrade, it's then going to show you Simple Start and Essentials, and what you get or lose, right? By being able to do that. The interesting thing about downgrading is there are some things that will be, I guess, showstoppers, right? So if you have 5 users set up in your Plus, right, and you try to go to Essentials, it's going to say, no, you can't do that until you get rid of 2 users, right? Because there's a maximum limitation of being to downgrade. So if you're using 5 users in Online Advanced and you try to downgrade, it's gonna warn you that you can't do that. Also, if you've set up inventory, who's that?
Not me.
Who didn't go on focus?
I didn't. We're going on focus now.
Okay. But if you have a limitation that would that doesn't exist in the lower version of QuickBooks Online, it's going to force you to make those corrections first before continuing and allowing you to downgrade your plan. So just bear that in mind. But that's how you can do that. Since I don't have any right? It's going to say what's going to go away. If I had purchase orders, some of these things are not, what's the word? They're not showstoppers, right? Like if I had a purchase order, they would still be there. I just wouldn't be able to create any new ones.
Okay.
Or access old purchase orders because the functionality has gone away. But then if I went back up to Plus or Advanced the following day, I would see them, right? It doesn't purge those or delete those transactions out. It's just you can't see them, right? But I can continue to do that, and then it's going to spin for a little bit and allow my change my plan. Great. I'm now in Essentials, right? So it's real easy to go up and down, within your subscription. I'm still in the trial, right? So it still allows me to, work around inside of QuickBooks, but just by accessing the billing and subscription, and then going into upgrade or downgrade your plan, that's where you would do that in QuickBooks Online. Carrie, you have anything to add?
Well, it's just kind of interesting to see that they were offering some discounts because that doesn't always happen, but interesting that in this one they did. So that's always another thing to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Because we always recommend our customers that they choose the right version and kind of go higher to start with if that discount's just a 12-month discount.
Yeah, you're definitely at the mercy of whatever Intuit wants to offer you at that point. Especially when you're upgrading, a lot of times they'll allow you to stay in your subscription discount, whatever that happens to be, simply because ultimately the discount's going to expire, and then they're going to stand to recoup that later, and so they may give you a extended discount, but in this case it's still I downgraded and it's still holding on to the discount. So very benevolent of
and it's never to be promised, because we've seen them just go back to MSRP right. and paying
It's
more.
Just like Kate was saying, there's the legal answer, and then there is the reality answer. Right? Like, we hope that there's discounts.
Depends on the mood of the software of the day, of the technology.
Exactly. So hopefully you join us next week when we continue talking about our payroll fundamentals, and we'll unpack a few more of these things that you can do inside of the managing your own subscription inside of QuickBooks Online, and hopefully we don't have so many Facebook challenges as we did today.
That's right.
So have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Have a good